Okay, we're recording live.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by. Guys, our guest today isn't your average CEO. She sits the helm of Entire Productions, a design, event, and entertainment company based out of San Francisco. Guys, if you like what we're doing, please like, share, and subscribe. This episode is sponsored by Covenant House. But without further ado, we'd like to welcome to the show Natasha Miller. Natasha, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for coming on.
Okay, I'm doing great. And can you tell me more about the sponsor, Covenant House?
Covenant House?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, we actually do a lot of work with Covenant House. Devin and myself, our family. Yeah, for a lot of years they do. They're an amazing organization for at-risk, homeless at-risk youth.
Yep.
And they're all over North America. And we do. I've been 6 or 7 years been doing this thing called the Sleep Out, where we get executives and people from EO, Entrepreneurs Organization and whatnot, and we sleep on the street for a night in an alleyway downtown in November. Ours is November, and we raise money for this amazing organization. And they've just been able to finish a brand new building in downtown Vancouver here, which their opening is next. It's in like a week or two. And we just love them. They're like a well-oiled machine, and what they do for our youth is just
so. Nigel and Devin, I don't think you know this, but a portion of the proceeds of my book and my speaking are donated to the Covenant House.
That's
Actually,
all my proceeds of my book go to Covenant House too.
I was just there at their site in Oakland, speaking to the youth there, and I've done some stuff in their Hollywood, Los Angeles area. So that's why I asked. Very symbiotic here.
Incredible. They're fantastic. And then we love to give shout outs for everybody there, their staff, the kids, the people. It's great. Yeah. So boy, you kind of threw a curveball there. That's fantastic. Thanks. So what we do here at our show first is we do something called, it's usually 2 truths and a lie, but I've got a bunch of stuff on you. So we're going to go multiple truths, and we're going to Devin and I are going to have to pick the lie out. Okay. So I'm going to read from a list here, and Devin and I are going to have to pick which is the lie. Okay. So Dev, you ready?
Yeah, ready.
Okay. Natasha knows sign language, but always forgets the letter Y. I don't know how you do a Y. Okay. That's number 1. Number 2. Okay, here we go. Natasha was a homeless teen. Okay, so that's getting some relevance there with Covenant House too here. Natasha has been on the Inc. 5,000 list for fastest growing companies in America for 3 years in a row. Wow, that's amazing. If it's true. And another one here for you, Devin. Natasha can do flaming hula hoop tricks. That's kind of what Devin and his girlfriend do here. And last but not least, I've got a bunch of things here. Natasha performs as a jazz vocalist and as a classical violinist.
Wow.
Oh, man, which is the lie? I mean, they're all so amazing, all these things here. Oh, so we've got the letter Y. We have homeless as a teen. We have the 5,000 list of fastest growing companies in America 3 years in a row. Flaming hula hoop tricks, and a jazz vocalist and classic violinist. Okay, I'll let you go first.
It all seems pretty legit to me, man. I really like what's happening here. I'm gonna go with sign language, but you don't forget how to make the letter Y, and all the rest are true. All right, Nige, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm looking at all of the things here, and I'm thinking the letter Y too, because everything else there is just, oh man.
You're just gonna go with mine.
I'm gonna go with yours. I'm gonna copy you. I'm gonna copy you. Yes, I'm copying you, Dev. I'm copying you. Yeah. Okay, Natasha.
Do I tell you?
Punch it in.
Do I let you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So I do know sign language, and I do remember the sign for the letter Y, but also I do hula hoop tricks, but I do not do them flaming.
Nice. You set us up.
Wow. because Dev's girlfriend Bianca, she does hula hoop, but she does flaming.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Never.
That's too funny. That's hilarious. Oh,
well,
my
we're gonna have to
gosh.
go back and touch back on some of these other ones.
Yeah. Okay. What do you want to pick?
Well, let's start with we'll go the homeless teen one after, but we'll start with the jazz performer and vocalist.
Let's go. Yeah, shine a little bit of light on that if you could. That's it.
Yes. So my father was a musician, or is a musician. He's still living. He plays the piano and played the trumpet. And I grew up listening to him play the piano for 2 hours after work every day. And there's pictures of me like barely being able to touch the piano. So I grew up with music, singing. I started to play the violin in 4th grade. Wow. I ended up being the youngest member of the Des Moines Youth Symphony, which was high school students. And I was in 6th grade in the back of the second violins trying to play Beethoven's 5th Symphony, which was terrifying. But I ended up studying with a college professor in junior high and getting a full ride scholarship to 3 different colleges.
Wow. And
then as a jazz vocalist, I have 7 CDs out. I have toured. They're all on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff.
Wow.
And now with the book that I just wrote, there are snippets of a lot of the music that I've written and recorded that are woven in through the story where they're appropriate.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then you mentioned just before we went online here that your book is on Audible too, right?
Yes.
And is some of the music woven in through there?
Yeah. Yes. And when I do a keynote presentation, it's a combination sort of reading of excerpts, short excerpts, keynote presentation, and performance. So I do something similar to what is in the Audible version of the book.
That's really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a nice touch. I love it. Wow. So I know I'm going to ask you another question here about homeless, but I'm going to stop for 2 seconds here, and I'm going to read just a short paragraph, not even a paragraph, from your book, if that's okay.
Sure.
And if anybody out there has little children, earmuffs time for about 2 seconds. And okay, so this is from your book, which is called Relentless: Homeless Teen to Achieving the Entrepreneur Dream. Love it. I love the title of that book. That is awesome. So here we go. This is Natasha. What Christmas means to me. I'm gonna fucking kill you, my mother screams, punctuating her threat with a 12-inch butcher knife. Des Moines, Iowa, 1987. Woo, I read that last night and I was like, I was kind of shaking, like, oh my gosh. Do you want to fill us in a little bit that, because you mentioned in here about being a homeless teen, and we talked about Covenant House, and I kind of read that and I was like, we have to talk about that.
It's intense, but it's not unique to me. There are a lot of people that are suffering from a similar thing. However, I would say I was in the middle of the country, Des Moines, Iowa, in the middle of the 80s. And the assistance for people with mental health issues or domestic violence issues, just, it wasn't there. We weren't there yet, right? And I had been treated like that, similarly to that, since the time I could remember. So this wasn't anything new. But it was Christmas Day. I was 16. And the thing that was new was the intensity or the look or the feel of her words and actions. And it was the first time I had ever done something for myself, and that I called 911 for the first time ever. And that was terrifying, right? You don't call the police for family altercations back then, especially. So that was a pivotal moment of my life story. I didn't know it at the time. There's no way, you can't know in the middle of that when you're 16 years old, but that was a turning point for me. And I've had so many other turning points and inflection points that are really high and really low.
Yeah. Wow. So you ended up leaving that night and going to a homeless shelter, right?
Yes, the police came and they couldn't remove me from the home. Back then, if I weren't gushing with blood or had a broken bone or, wasn't in dire need or wasn't dying, they couldn't do anything. So they handed my dad a card and said, you could take her to this youth homeless shelter, which, he asked me to pack a bag, but we didn't go on vacations. I didn't go on overnights. I didn't have a bag. So I showed up to this homeless shelter with a black hefty garbage sack. Stuffed full of random things that I stuffed in there. You don't know what to take. Right. And I was playing the violin at the time, and I left my violin at home, not knowing how long I'd be there. And as it turns out, they were discussing foster care, and I didn't end up going to foster care, but I've been on my own ever since. And yes, I did go back and get my belongings, including my violin. But the Covenant House is, who I chose to donate some of the money that I'm making from, the book and the story and the speaking. It's a similar place to the place I stayed in Des Moines.
Right. So I mean, take us back, when you step through the door into a homeless shelter, probably for the first time, what did you feel? Like you walk into a room and there's other kids there, and they're looking at you, you're looking at them, and at that moment there, it must have been just terrifying.
I was stuck in the middle of an abyss because I was an abused, both mentally, emotionally, and physically person, but I had some advantages that were very glaringly different from the kids. I walked in and, at the time I was wearing a gray sweater set from the Gap, which I felt so fancy in, which I know sounds a little silly right now, but that is how I felt. And to them, I looked pretty well kempt, and they started calling me preppy. And I got, they didn't understand that I was really so similar to them. They figured it out soon enough because I was dumped there. I was abandoned there by my family. They were mostly runaways or people that were, picked up off the street.
Right.
There is a difference there. And I know for people listening that they might not be able to understand it, but when the people that are supposed to be the ones that love and care for you are the ones that deliver you to a homeless shelter, that's, that affects you for life. Well, anything does. All those other kids are affected by life, but for life. But yeah, I think I almost wonder now, I never thought of this until after the book was published.
Yeah.
Instead of saying homeless teen to achieving the entrepreneur dream, should I have said abandoned teen? And I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know if it will reveal itself anytime soon.
Wow. So you were in this homeless shelter, and then your life at home was really, really tough by the sound of it. And then there must have been one of these turning points that you mentioned earlier. Like there was a turning point where because you were playing the violin, you're into music, you're into the arts. And then how did you kind of have that little switch? Like, I'm going to, start doing some entertainment type.
I don't know if there was a switch. When you're on your own, you have to fend for yourself. I was working full time as a 16-year-old as a hostess at a restaurant at night because I wasn't old enough to serve food. And, my talent and my skill was music, was playing the violin and singing. And I either had to, or I was lucky enough to understand that I could monetize anything that I was really good at.
Right.
At a very early age. And thankfully I had something that was able to be monetized. So I was playing for people's social events and corporate events with my string quartet and singing at people's weddings. And that, when you're young and you get a taste of success, hopefully you follow that lead. And I did. And that just, music created my life, saved my life. It's definitely
So you were like 16, 17, 18 playing at, like weddings or corporate events and things like that.
My
And
first paid gig was
wow.
for the governor's inauguration
Really?
as a violinist.
Wow.
I just played background music. Don't get too excited.
No, it's cool.
No, that's exciting. That's amazing. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then you got traction, obviously, over the years. You got traction and then started building, a significant company.
I did. And I did it, of course, completely by accident. So my
it's like we all do that. Though.
Yeah.
It's always
my
right.
core business, Entire Productions, is an event and entertainment production company. But for the first 10 years, it was a lifestyle business that was supporting my lifestyle and my performing arts career.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never considered that it would become a profitable multi-million-dollar company, that we would do events all over the world. Never occurred to me, didn't plan it, didn't care. I just, I was paying my rent and my bills and paying for my, I had a daughter at 24 years old, and, a lifestyle business, that doesn't mean it's not important or not good. It just means that there's not enough fat on the bone to scale and grow and to add, employees necessarily. It pays for your lifestyle. And I had a pretty humble, modest lifestyle. So, but it started to grow and I started to pay attention to it. And I also started to finish up what I didn't know at the time, but was my mark in the world as a musician. So I thought I would want to be on stages all over the world all the time, touring, but that's not my personality. So I phased out of being mostly a professional musician into running Entire Productions. And then when I put my mind to growing that company, well, what happens? It grows, right? And so now I have this wonderful company. And so music has informed my career of this company. And this company now, the next phase is this book, my podcast, teaching that I'm doing for people to learn how to scale and grow their businesses, as well as write their memoir, learn how to publish it and market it to a bestseller. Right. And who knows what's the next phase after that? Exactly. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Universe.
Don't spoil it. Yeah.
I want to be surprised.
Yeah. We always need those little, those, oh my gosh, I had no idea I was going down that path. You try something out and it works, but you love it. You're in the sweet spot and you just keep kind of going with the flow, as opposed to trying to force it. I find that when we try and force things, it just never seems to work out. But if we go with like what we love, I mean, like what Devin's doing, you love what you do, Dev, and things start evolving, and then you're like, 5 years goes by, and you're like, how the heck did I get here? It's mind-boggling. So you go from a 16, 17, 18-year-old, you're playing at weddings and you're playing at all these events, and then suddenly, so many years later, you've got this company. So how do you how do you run this thing? Like, how did you, and I know, and I, just over my experience and just watching people over the years and our employees and everything at our company, the ones that, really are the tenacious ones, the ones that have had the hardest upbringing, the ones that have been knocked around a lot, and had to really fight, for their, for survival in some cases, are just incredible people. It's the work ethic is unfathomable.
We know
you don't learn that in university.
How to get stuff done.
Yeah, you don't learn that by going to the university. You learn how to learn, but you don't learn that tenaciousness of almost like being on the street. It's like you don't, right? And so how are you running? How did you okay, now you got this mindset of I got to run this large corporation.
Well, I was able to grow it very slow because it was a lifestyle business and I was doing everything by gut instinct, right, and by interest, really. I didn't know, even at $1.5 million in revenue, I didn't know how to read my financial reports and I didn't care. Didn't care. Right. I didn't know how to talk about what we were doing as far as systems and processes. I didn't understand company culture, core values, and why they're important. I didn't know how to hire. I didn't know how to develop a talent. I didn't know how to fire. I mean, it was a little bit of a murky mess. But in 2015, I was able to go to the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. It's sort of like an entrepreneurial master's course.
Yes.
And I started learning what I really should have been able to access 10 years before. And I was ready for it.
Right.
I just hooked into it and I started implementing as I was learning. So there wasn't really much of a lag time.
Right.
And at that same time, I was able to work with an advisor, and he's the CEO of a $4 billion company.
Right.
Harvard MBA, incredibly smart and very interested in me and my business.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me great advice. From those two major things, my business grew by 65% the next year.
Right. So what you're saying here is that, mentorship, like a mentorship by somebody up here, and also joining, this group. And I found that for me, I know when people come and ask me, so what are the top things that you've learned? I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, mentor and a coaches, multiple coaches, helping you kind of keep on track of what you want to do, right? Not what other people want to do, but what you want to do, right? With your life, and mentors, and then also these amazing conclaves of people like you and I were both. I was member for many years, the Entrepreneurs Organization, and then that took both of us to MIT, to the Birthing of Giants, and now our program's called Gathering of Titans, which I've been going to for 17, 18 years.
Right.
And just like those things where we go and we share our difficulties and our successes, and we learn, as opposed to staying stuck in our little shire here, where, I don't want to stick my head out of the sand because it might get cut off. It's like, get out there and into the world and learn from people that know much more than I do, like you said, right, with your mentor. And yeah, I mean, for me, and I can see for you, I think that's been just invaluable, because I went to technical college, but I didn't know anything about business. I had no idea, but just had to fumble around and find my way. But then joining these groups and having coach and having mentors, and oh my gosh, like that's, if I was going to tell any younger people, any points, that would be at the top of my list, right? Yeah. So then growing your business, with technology, like technology these days has exploded, and I think it's exploded even more during this year, a couple of years of COVID. We've all been locked down. We've been learning how to do this Zoom thing and all of this stuff. So what's really helped you guys? How has technology and solutions help you boost, your revenue and your profit of your business?
This is a great question for me, because I'm very technically interested and progressive. And in 2013, not because I wanted to scale and grow my business, but because I found that what we were doing in our processes were time consuming and a waste of time. And I didn't want to double, triple, quadruple touch the things that I was doing on a daily basis anymore. So I researched various ways to solve for that problem. And I ended up building a complete system within Salesforce that I had no idea. None. I'm telling you right now, I had no intention and no idea that it would allow us to, in the future, wait for this, produce 777 events in 1 year with 2 people in operations.
Oh my gosh.
Now, some of these events that I'm talking about, and I have to give that caveat, are providing musicians anywhere from 1 to 75 for an event, all the way to producing an event. So we're not necessarily producing from A to Z all those events, but still it's a ridiculous number. And you can see with that number that there has to be something in place, right? There has to be an infrastructure, and that was a digital infrastructure. And Salesforce, they ended up saying, you use our system in a much more sophisticated way than we do. They had me talking at Dreamforce, and I was sort of their small business evangelist for their product. And they called me an app developer, which I was very uncomfortable with, right? Because I'm not a coder, I'm not a programmer, but they're like, no, Natasha, actually, that's what we call people like you that do what you do. And I'm like, okay, whatever, call me whatever you want. But if somebody comes up to me and asks me about things that are technical, they're going to be like, you're not really an app developer.
Right.
No one, by the way, has ever come up to me. And yeah, I haven't had that situation.
Oh my gosh. So also you talk about core values, right? So how in your business there, how do you create and support, and reward actually,
Yeah.
your core values? How do you
The core values, the core values are already there, but defining them, naming them, saying what they are, what they look like in real time, and especially saying what they aren't. So one of our core values is excellence. And what that isn't is perfection. And so that's really important, right? To consistently, continually, not like today, we're going to talk about our core value, excellence, right? It's not that. That is not how you use a core value necessarily in a way that actually works. But we talk about like, that was an excellent program. It wasn't perfect and it doesn't need to be perfect. Doesn't exist. Perfect is different in everybody's mind. So there's nothing that you can do to get there. And it can be dangerous, right? To try to get to perfection. So that is one of our core values. And we do look at people like, are you in your job being excellent? Like right now with you and Devin, I'm giving you my full attention. I am really engaged. I'm not distracted by windows, on my computer or anything outside. I'm being my most excellent self with you.
Right.
But I could not be. I could be checking my phone while you're talking and not really listening. And, there's no way to be perfect on this podcast, right? That's not really anything any of us are going to strive for.
Sure.
But I do want to be and insist upon being excellent.
Right.
In anything that I choose to do.
Yeah.
And so that emanates within the company. And when someone's not being excellent in their endeavors, then, instead of waiting 2.5 months to talk to them about it on their quarter one-on-one, you bring it up in a way that is supportive and developmental and work with them on that.
Great. We have a landline here which never rings and it's decided to ring. Sorry, it's going to run out.
Probably a parent or a teacher or something.
Yeah, or something like that.
Newspaper sales. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. I was going to ask you there. So in your industry and your industry, Devin's industry as well, like people, you get the artsy people, right? They're the artsy people. I'm not saying this for all us, but there's, can be a little bit late or don't like to sit on a schedule, or, carnies, as Austin Powers would say. So how do you create your job description, for all these people that you're bringing in, job description, and how do you interview these people and hire them to, because it's a totally different industry than the normal engineering or whatever that would be. Like you're dealing with, artists.
Thankfully, I am an artist, so I understand the artist mind, the creative mind. I do have another side of my brain that's really triggering and firing. And a lot of artists don't have that. They don't have it naturally. They don't necessarily want to develop it. They don't see the need for it, or they don't really have the ability to. All, myriad of things. And there's a very different way of communicating with some artists. Like communicating with a stilt walking juggler is very different than talking to a CEO of a $4 billion company.
Sure.
Right. Their sleep patterns are different. Their communication patterns are different. The juggler stilt walker is likely not checking their email all day long. They may check it every 3 to 4 or 5 days, and they have to be reminded to. Now, that's not every single artist. I'm not saying that. But in general, they're concentrating on their art, on their passion, on their emotions, on creating. And we need that as a world, as a society, right? But there are some incredible artists and musicians that we will never know about because they don't have the skill or the confidence or the desire to let anyone else know or market themselves or actually exchange value for what they give to the world.
Now the value, sorry. Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we do employ thousands of entertainers, and we know the challenge that they have being in this world of, sort of a more corporate environment. So we educate them, we train them, we give them bumper rails, we give them expectations, we let them know, what to do and what not to do on site, right? You can't belly up to the bar and grab yourself a vodka and hang out with the clients. Now, it seems like, well, why wouldn't I be able to do that? I'm a human too. But no, you're a professional and you're being paid to perform at this event. And so there's a set of rules for you. There's a set of rules for me too, as the event, planner. I don't also get to belly up to the bar and hang out with the guests. Yeah.
And I know that when I'm just watching, Devin and your evolution here with performers, there's performers that, I mean, everybody's amazing. They're great. It's just, there's a performance. I just want to do this and I'm going to do it for free because it's going to take me to, but perpetually they keep doing these things for free just to get out there and practice their art. And it's sometimes it I don't know if it dumbs down the professional, because there's the people that are getting paid to go do it, or that they're like you said, they're not drinking at the bar with a guest. But it's professional and they're getting paid for it. But then there's the other ones that are kind of doing these events for nothing, just to go and do it, and they get to drink at the bar. It's kind of a tough thing. I don't know if either one of you want to.
Well, yeah, until they like hire us or me personally or whatever, they don't understand how professional you are until you actually get to the gig, right? So they're gonna have somebody and be like, oh, well, you're this amount of money. That seems kind of ridiculous to me. So you got to sell yourself on why you're so good, basically, at the end of the day, because then they're just gonna go for somebody for free, and they do. And this is the thing, they'll have somebody come for free, and then by the next time they have an event, maybe they have a little more money and they're willing to pay for a higher performer. So then we send somebody out, or that we send myself or Bianca, and we get there and they go, oh my gosh, that was such a different experience. Buddy showed up late, all of his stuff just like in the main foyer, kind of just went on, did his thing. We show up in like a suit and a tie, and then I get changed into my performance outfit, and then I have all my stuff in the back room, and I got fire safety stuff, I got fire extinguishers, all my stuff, my DJ music that I mix myself, all these things, that just the layers and layers of the professionality that they can see, but they don't, if they never get around to hiring you, then they never know, and then they'll always hire for free. And it really kind of puts a dampening on all the other companies who are trying to make a living out of this, because so many events I know around Vancouver just hire people, or go on the Instagram and find, oh, hey, this guy spins something, let's just get him to go. Hey, yeah, he just wants to do it for free. And then it's really hard trying to actually book a gig and get paid for it. And this is how we live, this is how we pay rent, right? So it's like, yes, we need to do this. So yeah, it is kind of frustrating, because you just got to push and you got to sell yourself on like, no, this is why we're so great, here's all my stuff, here's the website, here's the Instagram, so that's my experience with it, at least. So
yeah, no, that's good. And Natasha, what would you say to that?
Well, we only hire for entire productions. We only hire really top-notch performers. So they have to be excellent at their skill, but they have to be professional. And if they're not professional, but they're so good and they should be professional, we teach them. Right. So if somebody's like, oh, I'll do that gig for $400, I'm like, no, never do that again. Like, we're going to pay you $1,200. And this is why you should be making that, so sometimes we're educating artists that way. But as far as the free thing is going, I want to address that.
Yes.
There is really good reason to perform for free for certain things and at a certain point in your career. And we actually ask some of our artists, especially with our marketing gigs, in front of an audience that is specifically going to buy from us at some point. We have an artist deck that shows the testimonials of our professional performers saying, This is why I did this event for free for entire productions, because we are committed to, if we bring Devin in as a fire dancer for an event and we didn't pay him, we are dedicated to not only promoting him to the clients that are calling us to ask for that thing, but we're then marketing him and if somebody's wanting something similar, we're going to put him up, as an opportunity. So we are really beholden as a company to elevate those that are willing to help us market our company. So, but there's a certain time where you say, no, this is my rate. And of course you can negotiate plus or minus, 10, 15%. But if you have to, if somebody's asking you to do something for something lower than that, and you are established in your career and you don't see the upside, then you pass. And then there is some strength in passing.
Right. Yeah. That's excellent. Any last questions that you want to ask Natasha there, Deb?
Yeah, I got one for you.
I thought you might.
Yeah. I asked this to some guests, and I think this will really be a good one for you. And I know you're gonna have an awesome response. But if you could go back to that 16-year-old version of yourself, hypothetically, and give her 3 points of wisdom that you've acquired over the years as the person you are now today, what would you say?
Okay, I can come up with 2.
Yeah.
So the first one is I was looking outside of myself to neighbors, relatives, teachers, friends to save me my whole life. I was trying to be my best self. I would play my violin with the windows open so people could hear the gorgeous music I was putting out into the world, so that someone could say, she's worthy. I'm going to get her out of that situation. Here's the deal. No one came to save me, and no one's coming to save you. However, it is very likely that you have it within yourself to save yourself. Now, I can't say that as a blanket statement for every single individual, because it is not true. But for the most part, I would have liked to have been told not to look outside of myself as much as I did. And that looking outside of myself continued into adulthood, right? Even with therapy, right? And so that's number 1. And then number 2 is kind of counterintuitive to what I just said. But there are people that will appear in your life and that you can look for, that can help raise you, a little bit here and there. And if you amplify to its fullest capacity those gifts that those other people give to you, that's actually you helping to save yourself. And I'm sorry, but I think those 2 are powerful enough to not add a third.
Absolutely. No, I'd agree. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Honestly, it was such a pleasure talking to you. And guys, we're going to wrap it up on that. If you'd like to know more about Natasha, we're going to put all the links in the description of the video. Other than that, thank you so much for all your awesome words and your knowledge about everything and your story. And it was just such an honor talking to you today.
Thank you. It was really cool to talk to you both. I liked this format, and thank you so much for having me.
Natasha, I really want to say thank you so much. It's really heartwarming. Your story is extremely compelling. I personally have had family issues too, and blah, blah, blah. And the things that it just resonates with me, your life, the way you've been able to build your life and design the life that you've wanted, and be able to come out as strong as you have. It's really compelling. And I just encourage everybody to grab a copy of your book, audio on Audible. Relentless, Abandoned Teen. No, the actual book is called Homeless Teen to Achieving the Entrepreneur Dream, and it's on Amazon and wherever you get your books, right? So thank you so much. Definitely grab a copy of this, and it was really fantastic. And hopefully meet you at one of the EO events, or out in Boston or something one of these days.
Yes, that would be great.
That'd be really cool. Yeah. Okay. That is thank you so much.